Welcome to Computer World once again. We've had a series of videos going on here where I have explored how far back we can go with Mac computers and still have them be reasonably usable here in 2020. And in this series, we've discovered that we can go back to early 2003 with the first Power Mac G5 computers, specifically a 1.8 gigahertz dual G5, which keeps up very, very, very well. It's quite usable, not as the professional level editing machine that it was in the day, but just for your average computer uses, it's really quite good. We took a step back from there to the mirrored drive door Firewire 800 Power Mac G4. That was a 1 gigahertz processor, the lowest step in the Firewire 800 line. And that kept up quite well. Slower, yes, than the G5, but it did keep up, and I had a very pleasant week using that MDD as my primary computer. Well, that gets one to thinking, how far back can we go? Now, we tried the Sawtooth going back to the year 2000. Technically the last year of the 20th century. That, while it's a functional computer, it certainly has its uses. As far as using it on a regular basis as the primary machine, I'm afraid not. But we do have several versions in between. So let's take a look at what is behind me here. The typical Power Mac G3, G4 style of case. This, my friends, is a Quicksilver. It is kind of silver colored throughout. Now, that dates us back to, I believe, 2001, depending on exactly which model of Quicksilver it is, and it's a little hard to tell at this point. The seller on eBay, first of all, sold me the darn thing for $13. And the reason he did that was that there is no hard drive in the machine. So, he said, from the listing, it does power on. It boots up to the flashing folder question mark icon, which is exactly what a computer would do if it can't find an operating system or if there's no hard drive, so of course it can't find an operating system. But that does tell us, since we get that icon, that the machine is functional. And that if we put a drive in there, we should be able to get a functional machine. Now, he didn't have a drive and said he'd been unable to test it. He doesn't really know exactly what it is, other than that from the outside of the case, it is Quicksilver. So in today's video, we're going to take a closer look at this machine. Tour the outside and the in, as we've done in all of these older Macs thus far in the series. And we're going to try to boot it up. I mean, it will boot up to the flashing question mark. But, I'm going to see if we can get it to boot off an external drive, and maybe we can find out a little bit more clearly from within an operating system exactly what's going on with this machine. So hang in there. It should be an interesting run as we take a look at this. We're now talking, 19-year-old computer. Hang with it. We'll be right back. If you've been following along with these videos, this is going to be a very familiar look to you as we check out the side view of the Quicksilver. From this angle, it is pretty much identical to the MDD. Where things begin to change a little bit, looking up at the top, it is a lighter grayish color that was deemed silvery and got the machine the nickname Quicksilver. Now we've got an interesting sticker on the side here. State of Washington, University of Washington. Computer Center Oral Health Res. I guess that would be health. Maybe not. But anyhow, obviously this was a university-owned computer, whether it was in some sort of computer lab or whether it was used in administration. We really don't know that. But that's interesting. And so this got picked up from a university. I think it's pretty easy to assume that the university, when they decided finally to get rid of this machine, and I'm sure some other ones, simply removed the hard drives to preserve any data. All right, looking at the front, that's the optical drive. This machine does have something that's a little bit different from the others we looked at. It actually has a zip drive in there. No idea if it works. I have no idea how I'm going to test it because I don't happen to have any zip disks. But it is kind of cool that it's there. And the power button, of course, the speaker. No mirror drive doors, naturally. Okay. Moving to the back and the I/O. Let's see here. Now that's actually got a headphone icon, so that would be the 3.5 audio out. That's the microphone jack. Then it appears that there isn't a phone modem on this machine. That's the space for it that's blocked up. But we do have Ethernet. We do have FireWire 400 and the two USB 1.1. Okay. Now looking at the output for the graphics card. We have VGA, but we also have ADC. This is going to be able to connect to the cinema display. That actually makes me happy. Now I have 3 Macs that will be usable with that display. And we do have a card here that's got USB, I would assume USB 2, and 2 more FireWire 400 ports. All right, and of course Kensington lock and all of that. Well, now let's take a look at the inside of the machine, which doesn't want to open up with one hand. There we go. Okay. There's the PRAM battery, heatsink for the processor, and the RAM slots in there. There are 3 RAM slots. This machine would be capable of 1.5 gigahertz. Now they took out 1 slot, so the sawtooth actually was able to go up to 2 full gigahertz. Okay, then we've got the graphics card, and there's that. Here we go. I'm gonna look at the phone a little bit. Aha! I actually had bought one of these, and I've currently got it in the blue and white. it's got an internal FireWire 400. That's interesting. Now, I don't know for sure whether the machine would be able to boot from that, being on a card. Macs can boot from external drives. We'll see if it'll boot from that particular one. All right, and here we see the emptiness. There is no hard drive. Looks like they've completely removed the caddy from the tray there, and they took that out along with everything else. I've got an extra one drive tray, so we'll be able to take care of that. But yes, obviously nothing there. Yep, there's the zip drive, and it is plugged in. Optical drive, power supply over here, fan over there. These machines were notorious for being very noisy. We're going to see if that has been adjusted at all. All right. Now, if we'll turn our attention back to the back of this, there's a sticker right here. And it's not focusing really well, but that does give us some of the specs, and it does say that it's a 733 single CPU. That would make it the base model of the 2001 Quicksilvers, unless that's been upgraded, and that's assuming this sticker is accurate and has not been added after the fact. I think that's, as it came from Apple. All right. I think that's about all we're going to discover from this machine by looking at it from the outside. So we are going to have to connect it and try booting it up. Stay tuned. All the connections have been made. We're looking now, of course, at the screen of the Apple Cinema HD display. And it did, in fact, connect right up to it. So hopefully that power button on the display is going to work. And it is. So we get a boot chime. That's always a good sign. Now, of course, it's not going to boot into an operating system. There is no drive. All we're really checking here is the machine functional? And yes, there we get the question mark icon, the little folder picture, and it goes back and forth between the Mac face. It actually looks like Happy Mac, and then question mark, which tells us that the machine cannot locate an operating system. That's not surprising because, of course, there is no drive. So we're going to power it down. And in order to test a little further, I have my G Technologies FireWire 800 drive. Now, it is FireWire 800, but it's easy to get adapter cords. I have one already connected. So I am going to plug in that drive, and we hope that this time we're going to boot into an operating system. Let's find out. Power again. Boot chime again. Now, the machine has got different protocols it goes through. Okay, it's going to boot into OS 10. There are actually two operating systems on this external drive, OS 9 and OS 10.4 Tiger. So it's going to boot into 10.4. Okay, computer's clock. This tells us that that PRAM battery is dead. I'll get some more of those. I'm going to actually get some extras. The blue and white PRAM battery appears to be dead too. Okay. And of course, we got to look at about this Mac. And it is, in fact, a 733 megahertz PowerPC G4 with a whopping 384 megabytes of SD RAM. Okay, now, when we looked at it earlier, we could see that one of the RAM slots was not populated. So I'm going to have to get some more RAM for this machine. That is not a lot of RAM, really. Tiger will run on it. OS 9 will probably run fine on that. All right. I'm going to check out System Profiler. Power Mac G4. Machine model. Power Mac 3,5. CPU type. PowerPC G4. 733 megabytes. Okay, we got all of that. Now, disk burning. Yes, we do have a burner in there. Reads DVD? No. It doesn't read DVDs. That's strange. It does write to CDs. I'm a little surprised because I really thought these things came with super drives. It's possible someone swapped out that optical drive. Shouldn't be a huge issue anyway. Firewire. 2 Firewire buses. One of those may well be, well, those are probably both the external ones. All right, memory. Yep, 128 megabytes, 256 megabytes. It'll take 512 megabytes, so that's what I will get for it. And look at the PCI cards. All right, the FireWire, the USB, and this machine should have no problem dealing with USB 2. I just will be interested in seeing if we can put an internal FireWire drive and have it as a boot disk. I'm going to put an SSD in there, but this machine will have the same limitations that both the blue and white and the Sawtooth had, in that it will not deal with anything more than 128 gigabytes on the drive that's connected via IDE. The MDD FireWire 800 did not have that limitation. All right, so what else do we have we need to look at? There won't be anything here. No, didn't think so. No USB. Okay. Studio display is one hub connected in there. We've got another hub with the keyboard. So, of course, yeah, with the studio display, we get 2 extra USB. Unfortunately, it's 1.1. The keyboard has got 1 additional USB port, since I've got the optical mouse plugged into one. All right. Okay. 1.1. Studio display 1.0. I'm not 100% sure whether this is telling us about, doesn't seem to be telling us about that. Okay, airport card. There is no airport card. I forgot, I should have looked at that when we had the thing opened up. The volumes, no information found, probably because there's no internal disk. Oh, Okay. So I think that pretty much tells me what I need to know concerning this machine. It is going to need some pretty serious upgrading in terms of storage. I'll need to experiment to see if we can connect to that internal FireWire 400 port and in fact boot off it. If we can, then I'll need to get an enclosure and an SSD to put in that, as well as one built-in 120 gig SSD. We need to upgrade the RAM, and once we've done that, I'll be able to experiment with this machine and be able to tell you a little bit better. Now, oh, that system profiler that's still running, of course, because I didn't close it out. Yeah, disk utility isn't going to tell us anything. So yes, it's got all of the programs that are installed, but that's all on the G Technologies hard drive, external. Okay, so I think that's pretty much going to be it for this video. We may get an interim report with upgrades, and once those upgrades are done, I'm going to have to order some things from OWC, and that'll take a while to get here, but once I've got that in and I have it set up so it's running the way I would want it to be running, then we're going to try to see what it will do over the course of a week as a principal computer. The 450 megahertz Sawtooth couldn't quite make it. The 1 gigahertz G4 MDD made it pretty well. This is probably a little closer to that. I'm going to be interested in seeing what the results are, and I hope you will check in later on to see how that's gone. As always, thank you very much for having taken the time to look at this video, and I hope you found it interesting in terms of these older Mac machines. And again, thank you, and have a wonderful whatever it is wherever you are and whenever you happen to see this.